Thank you for joining me today. It's Brian Gubernick, and welcome to the No Days Off podcast, where we believe that every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. This time of year, the holiday season, it seems to magnify what I would call stress, or better yet, overwhelm. You're getting pulled at work as everyone's pushing to close things out, pretty strongly, or hit certain goals. You're getting pulled at home because of holiday expectations and family events, just the emotional energy that goes along with all that. And internally, you're trying to balance the ambition that comes with work with the presence that you need for family. I want to talk about this subject because frankly, it's one that always comes up this time of year, but this past week I've had multiple people, mention things about stress or overwhelm to me. And so today I want to give you what I believe to be a pretty simple, practical framework for managing overwhelm specifically during this time of year. Something that you can begin to leverage immediately. It blends thoughts from a number of different individuals, mentors of mine or authors, those that talk about how to approach focus, and those that talk around high performance psychology. And I want to just draw from these lessons and share with everybody today. So, step 1 in this framework for managing overwhelm, particularly during this season, I would call this step constrain the field. Constrain the field. What do I mean when I say that? What I mean is that I do not believe that overwhelm is actually caused by volume. I think it's caused by lack of focus, or better yet, lack of clarity. I think we have to eliminate. We have to go through an act of elimination. In other words, you don't necessarily choose your priorities in this constrain the field thought. You strip away everything that isn't one. In the book written by Jay Papasan and Gary Keller, The One Thing, the entire book is based around this one particular question, which is, what's the one thing that I can do today that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? What's the one thing I can do today that makes everything else easier or unnecessary? I've always loved this question because it cuts through all the noise. See, most overwhelm comes from giving equal weight to tasks that frankly are not equal. So when you constrain the field to the few things that actually matter, your stress begins to drop immediately. So step 1, constrain the field. Step 2, and I borrow this from Brendan Burchard, set the emotional tone. See, Brendan teaches that overwhelm is less about workload and it's more about what he would call emotional unintentionality. Most people step into their days rather reactively, responding to everything, generating, not the result they desire, or really generating nothing. So before shifting into your next role, be it in work, in family, in a meeting, or a conversation, ask yourself some questions that help you set the emotional tone. How do I want to show up in this next hour? What energy do I choose to bring? Who needs me at my best right now? I love these questions. I think they reset your mind, they reset the system. I think it's because calm isn't something you stumble into. It's not something you find. It's something you create. Presence is something you choose. So you can't stop all this stuff from coming at you, but you can decide the state, the mental state, the emotional tone that you're going to meet all of these things coming at you with. So step 2, set the emotional tone. Step 3, build borders. Build borders. I think most entrepreneurs lack in this particular area. The problem isn't capacity, it's that we have no boundaries. Work bleeds into family, family bleeds into work. Recovery time evaporates because nothing has a clean start and stop. So I would adopt this rule. If it matters, give it a border. What do I mean when I say that? Let's call it a time border. Create a hard stop for work, even if the list isn't done, or a physical border. Close the laptop or leave the room or change the environment, or a mental border, like taking a breath, reciting a phrase or something that changes your mood. Transition, come up with a transition ritual that shifts you from one role to another. Make sense? So I believe your life just probably needs a little bit more structure in this sense. Without borders, everything feels like everything. It all blends together. But with borders, each part of your life gets fuller attention. So create borders during this season. Step 3. Step 4, I would challenge you to ask yourself these 2 relief questions. I'm calling this step 4, but a lot of times this ends up being step 1 for me. Whenever I feel a degree of stress or overwhelm, I go to these 2 questions. Question 1, what can I delete? For me, overwhelm usually includes tasks that I simply do not need to be doing. So, what can I delete? What can I cancel? What can I remove? And then I cross them off my list permanently. So, question 1, I like to ask myself, and asking these 2 relief questions, what can I delete? Question 2, what can I delegate? Again, this is step 4 for me, but I do oftentimes, make it the very first step. What can I delegate? I'm usually holding responsibilities that someone else can probably take over and own and likely do better than me. In business, sometimes that's more admin type of work, or it's certain prep work or certain communication. It doesn't always have to be me. At home, it's a whole variety of things, right? The logistical things, certain errands, certain coordination. I don't think you solve overwhelm by doing more. You solve it by doing less of the wrong things, right? So these 2 questions, at least for me, free up space rather quickly. So I think I could sum up the overwhelm antidote here, and I think I could do it in one quick sentence. Constrain the field, set your emotional tone, build borders, delete, delegate. That's the process. Constrain the field, set your tone, set your emotional tone, build borders, delete, and delegate. Overwhelm feels like you're being asked to run every mile of the race all at the same time. But you never actually have to do that. You just have to take the next step, take it fully, take it intentionally, take it with clarity, and just start there. And then take the next step and the next step and the next step. That's all I have for you today, the No Days Off podcast. Thank you so much for listening. And remember, every single day brings a new opportunity to get better. So let's get after it.